This is a tool for a drill that you're not likely to have. In this video, I'll show you how you can make one. Okay, why do we need to make one of these? Well, it reaches spots that other wire brush things just won't get to. Consider this one. Common enough, works great for edges. For flat surfaces, this is your go-to. They even come in smaller and stiffer models. And then of course we have the old-fashioned pipe brush. Works great, but still doesn't get into corners, even if you chuck it into a drill, because look what's at the middle. All the little wires are wrapped up in that frame, and that frame bumps into the corner and keeps you from getting in there. But instead, if we put the frame somewhere else, then the wire can go right to the middle. In this case, we're wire brushing with end grain, and look what it can do. This old jointer restorer is giving me plenty of opportunities to use it. This is 80 some years old and it has paint in nooks and crannies everywhere. Take a look a few inches down. There's no way I'm going to get one of these in there. And again, there's no way I'm going to fit into there with this. Notice that when the copper rubs on things it's not supposed to rub on, that it doesn't scratch anything, because copper is soft. Alright, that's enough. This idea should sell itself, so let's make one. Let's start with cable, also known as wire rope. Now you can use just about any old steel cable that you can find, from something like this that's a heavy-duty tension cable, all the way down to brake and shifter cable that's used in a mountain bike. But which one you choose to use will dramatically affect the properties of the thing that we're making here. Don't focus so much on the cable itself so much as the threads that comprise the cable. It's called wire rope for a reason, because it's made up of smaller individual strands. The thicker these strands are, the stiffer your finished brush will be. Let's start out by making another one of these. To do that, we're using a piece of 1/4 inch steel cable. About 4 inches long is a convenient size, but there are no rules. You can make it whatever you like. Now we wrap both sides of the cut with electrical tape. Be generous. The best way to fix unraveling is to prevent it from ever happening in the first place. If you don't have an angle grinder, a rotary tool with a cutoff wheel will work, just not as quickly. If you don't have one of those, well then it's back to the old hacksaw, but just make sure to put it in a vise. If you have neither a vise nor a hacksaw, then I question your commitment to crafting. Here's a piece of old copper fuel line. Don't get greedy when you're straightening an old pipe like this. The secret is to make many, many micro corrections. And eventually, these will average out as straight. Notice that this tool has a sort of blade thing that's been sharpened along 2 faces. If you take nothing else from this video, take the recommendation that you need to get one of these. This is called a deburring tool. the pipe gets cut 1 inch shorter than the cable. Right now it's loose fitting, so we're going to make a cut into the copper so that we can clamp it onto the cable. Whenever you're cutting a pipe lengthwise, it is not a good idea to just grab it like this. Why not? Because as you squeeze the pipe, it puts where you're making a cut under compression, and you shouldn't cut anything under compression. If your vise opens wide enough, you can clamp it like this. But let's pretend as though you can't do that. This is one more of those things on the long list of things that can be done with a hacksaw. And if you're younger and you have a small shop and you have to use a hacksaw, I don't feel sorry for you, because believe me, I've done my share of it. Once you get it shiny enough for the thumbnail, now it's time for the fun part. That's it. This one's ready to go. If you need to make it grab the cable tighter so that it can't spin or come loose, just take a little bit more of the copper away. Don't be afraid to take plenty of the pipe away. In this case, I left a big gap, but this is made out of steel. In case you're wondering why this one is missing some pipe, let me show you. Don't jump out of your seat just yet. The bendy one's okay, but really this rigid one, this is a must-have. And this is its maiden voyage. Honestly, I don't even remember how I used to do it. This is great. You're a little bit in the way though. Just be sure to alternate your drill when you're using one of these. You would do that with any wire brush attachment. Go forward, reverse, forward, reverse. And this is what it looks like after about a minute of use. And this is what it looks like after many, many dozens of uses. So far this project has been a massive win, so consider the rest of this video like bonus feature. Most of you aren't going to want to go out and buy a piece of 1/4 inch cable, so what you're more likely to find is a piece of 1/8 inch cable. So in order to make one, let's cut 3 of them 4 inches and then see if we can stuff them into a piece of copper. It teases apart into 7 individual strands, and that's the same as the big stuff. That's not a coincidence, it's a consequence of its geometry. A bundle of 6 smaller ropes wraps nicely around a center core. This time the pipe only has 1 cut made in it. And we're going to take these 2 cables and stuff them down in there such that one of them blocks the cut, so that the single strands that we shove down in next to them don't pop out the cut. Now we take a bundle of 3, and if it's possible, weasel it down into that space there. It is possible. Now we'll do it on the other side too. So far, so good. Now we just have to stuff it all in there. for take 2, I'm straightening some of the curviness out first, and I'm placing them down in, and then I'll drive this in like a wedge, hopefully. Just have to make sure none of them are sticking their heads out through the seam. This is why we prototype before we start filming. Ugly, but it's getting there. I'll call it good enough and tighten it up. It will still work. And if I cared, I could just use the grinder. Unwrap the rope, and this one will be ready. So it turns out that you have to capture every one of these individual ropes and untwist them so that you can liberate all the individual strands. Okay, so there it is. After a whole bunch of playing around, I tried it out, and you know what? It feels exactly the same as the other one, so I checked the thread size, and they're both the same. That's right, 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch, both are made with the exact same strand size. Again, that's why we prototype before we make videos. Okay, well, I hope this thing ends up being useful to you, and in closing, I would like to say that there really are no game changers. Ultimately, the thing that pushes you through a project like this is just tenacity. It's your willingness to do the work. So this is just one more tool in our arsenal, and that's the secret. Have lots of things at your disposal, and when something isn't working, switch to something else. Okay, good luck out there. I'll see you on the next topic. And wish me luck restoring this beast.